This week on Hermitcraft.
Yeah, it's just a space thing, but this is humble beginnings, everyone. This is what it looks like.
We did it, everybody! We finally have a Hermit's Raft! Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is LoyXP, and this is as good of a time as any to remind you that we need at least a couple of days to put these videos together. And so the head game finale, along with anything else that happened on Saturday and Sunday, will be covered in next week's recap. You can see exactly why this show takes so long to make in the How We Make Hermitcraft recap video linked in the iCards. In the meantime, we're happy to bring you an update on the TFC situation from a couple of weeks ago. He is now safely at his sister's house where he'll be staying while they figure out the whole situation. The Hermits have already mentioned that, if need be, they're willing to do a fundraising event to help out with the bills, so we'll bring you news about that if there is any. There's much happening on the server itself as well, and this intro has already gone on for too long, so let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week.
And let's watch Matilda go. Oh!
As the current head of Tag 2, a tag of the clones, and with the head games building to, well, ahead, Doc M77 is not content with having a squadron of blazes watching his back. This week he decides to have all four sides of him watched by iron golems. It's a second stage of the security system linked to Testificate Tower, and involves him going up his own chimney like a reverse Santa Claus. These levels of security, while spectacular, are verging on paranoia. Especially since he eliminates two of his closest threats without having to go full DEFCON 1. Sneaking up on BOO while his former neighbour is gardening his new plot of land, Doc chases him into his house and charitably hands over the coveted name tag, only to have False Symmetry burst in through the back door and slay B-dubs on the spot. And in a post-credits scene, we get to see the deal going down between False and the Goatfather.
I have this pesky neighbor, as you know, B-dubs, right? Gonna hand him over the tag, and as soon as he gets it, ha! You know?
Yeah, I get it. Like that, yeah.
Really, Doc and Dubs were lucky that False agreed to execute the plan this way, given her newly found affection for blowing things up and TNT takedowns counting as a PvP kill. You see, after manually tearing up a hole to the bedrock in a few spots, it's no wonder that explosives seemed like a much better solution. Though False quickly runs out of them and has to resort to building TNT dupers around the area and using those to blast all the way to lava level.
Just feel like it's making more of a mess than anything else.
The False Doc Alliance aren't the only people to show up at B-dubs' door, although the next person at least asked nicely before decapitating him. Cubfan, in full Pharaoh garb, brought an offering of sand from the heavens, which suffocated B-dubs' frame rate before dealing damage to the man himself.
I can't breathe!
Oh, no.
I can't breathe!
Break it!
I can't breathe! I can't breathe!
I get shot. I get shot.
To his credit, B-dubs keeps a level head after all this carnage, and goes back to building custom pine trees, starts a stable for the horses roaming his new plains area, and buys a plot for an as-yet unknown shop.
This is gonna be our spot, and I think it'll be perfect. I'm super excited about it.
He also finds some leisure time for a bit of stat poker with the boys in question being Tango, Corrales, and XB Crafted, although it's a bit hard to tell them apart under the Miami Vice masks.
I have 1,000.
No, you don't.
900.
Wow!
41.45.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Where have you been flying?
Just back home.
It's just one of many contests XB participates in this week. He's busy recruiting participants for his build contest at Casa, although the entry price needs to be negotiated with certain server members who've sworn themselves off diamonds for the foreseeable future.
We can't let everyone on the server constantly be motivated by this search for wealth in order to hoard or spend it. Some of us need to be motivated by a search for wealth in order to obliterate it. So that's what I'm doing. How have you been?
So
anything but diamonds.
So I could put like a single rocket and grab a stack of steak?
You got to think about what that says about you to your viewers.
Rude. But what if I put like Mumbo's name on the rocket and then put it in there?
Well, that's hilarious. And I recommend everyone make other people look bad.
The opportunity to have a friendly PvP duel with Corrales is also very inviting. But XB wants to be impartial when judging the build competition, so he spends a little time out of town to avoid seeing whose build is whose, instead opting to work some more on the Pillager Clubhouse and the hilltop around it. A few houses spring up and are put through the apocalyptic filter, walls broken down, roofs caved in, but at least the infinity pool is still clean enough to go swimming in. Zedaf chooses a more natural environment, but he does bring his own floaty. His latest project is the Dinghy Race, basically a race with checkpoints around the central commercial island, where you have to ding the golden buckets on the buoys along the way.
Or buoy, as I think incorrect people call it. It's from the same word as buoyant. If you say buoyant, then you say boy, surely.
Ironically, the bells themselves prove an obstacle for this project, seeing as how they don't exactly run in herds in the wild. So for now, Zedaf is stuck either farming up emeralds to barter gold buckets from all those blacksmiths that he doesn't have, or stealing more bells from local villages so they won't know when their favourite YouTuber uploaded. Speaking of which, ring that bell! Notification squad! Well, why be a bell ringer when you can be a whistleblower? With the blessing of Zombie Cleo, Cubfan revives the Hermiton Herald, Cleo's newspaper from back in the day. How far back, you ask? Well, Hermiton is the name of the town the paper originated from, which was founded back on Season 2. You might also remember the Herald from Season 4, where the name made just as much sense as it does now, since there isn't a Hermiton on either season, but brand recognition is king and all that.
This has been great.
This has been amazing. Thanks for agreeing to do it with me. It's so cool. I'm so excited.
Me too.
This iteration of the Hermiton Herald is actually more of a tabloid or even a pamphlet, being a single page, distributed and updated for free. The part that actually makes the money is when people buy space on the front page for hit pieces or advertising. Though it still can't be as biased as the Hermitcraft recap.
And also the little happy sun down there at the bottom.
For this to work, Cub had to put together a 128 by 128 snowblock area somewhere in the ocean, prime for map art and fancy handwriting. As massive as that is, it's but a bump in the road compared to the massive flattening of the footprint for the Grand Pyramid he's been working on, most of which was dug up by hand till he, just like Falses before him, got sick of it and brought in the TNT. This does, however, affect his buying power, and the rest of the deals for the day take an interesting turn to the barter economy.
Final offer. Final offer.
Okay.
Not 12, but 13 bamboo.
His co-author, in the meantime, only gets richer, or rather, gets even. Joe Hills has finally delivered on the diamonds he owes Zombie Cleo and has her navigate his mining tunnels to the place of lava-soaked diamond ores. She is surprisingly okay with that as long as she gets to invite zombies into his house.
Oh no, you are actually going to kill me. You are actually murdering me.
Still a bit miffed on the whole spider head overload thing, Cleo adopts one as her permanent face, but that too is subject to change now that False and Impulse have flooded her inbox with pillager selfies.
No! I didn't even look at... No, False. No, honey. Oh, False.
Thankfully, she's about to put an end to these shenanigans with the final phase of the head game, taking place somewhere in a desert coliseum and promising to be an even bigger bloodbath. We're just wondering how she'll signal the gladiators if Minecraft characters have no thumbs. Didn't stop her from ordering bunnies and pandas to slaughter.
And we can add that to the box over here. Let me just verify it was 10 rabbit heads. Well, we got 10. Lucky us.
So, Hypno's contribution to the cause is about to get much more drowny. This week, he assembles a sky farm for the undead Glubglubs and even gets enough tridents out of it to share with the class. Well, he had to put that mob cap somewhere now that his smaller island is all lit up with palms all over. His trident shop really is hard to miss, seeing as how it's a giant prismarine drown sticking out his extendo fork from under the ground.
And then for the pricing on these, I asked you guys last episode, and it went from anywhere between 7 diamonds to like a full stack, I think.
Tango Tech, while not really interested in the head game, is still willing to at least score some cash off the people already in it, which is why he has this bidding war on the shulker box full of dragon heads he stole from the end on his shulker boxing trip.
So far, Korean's offered 12 bamboo, which is pretty enticing. He did actually push the offer up to 13, so we might have a deal soon.
The mobs he's farming won't drop heads anyway, so you might as well drop them from a considerable height. The output chute of his creeper farm is remade to actually shoot the creepers, though not for a huge distance.
This is scary. They're sizzling, dude.
Yeah, don't worry, it's all fine.
With a steady supply of gunpowder raining down, it's time to get some blocks to blow up, and Tango teams up with Impulse to start a concrete production line. Their shop is especially fancy with the colourful shifting floor and the block that is annoying as all heck to get in bulk, but that's just a bigger incentive for the customers to sweep the shelves. You can see why Impulse SV would want a side gig though. The Totems of Undying still aren't flying off the shelves despite there being at least 2 reasons to kill your server mates at any given time. It's time for a marketing campaign, which means giving away his stock to get people hooked. Reactions to this vary, and one lucky recipient immediately jumps out of a tree.
I kept wondering what would happen if I would fall down. Yeah, I would have died. I would have died.
Impulse also questions the design of his base some more, deciding to build up a perimeter wall so the foundation of his techno pyramid looks a little stronger. It will also give him a ton of extra space below to build farms, but he doesn't wait for the walls to go in before building a giant kelp farm feeding directly into his super smelter. The competition is quick to move in. Corrales and Azuma start their own partnership for concrete production, which isn't surprising. After all, Corrales is perhaps the only one who can build a believable cement truck. He also has somewhere to park it, putting together a whole car park over at his construction site, even providing the roads for them to make-believe drive on.
He's got a bed down here. Oh wow, look at this semi. Holy smokes.
But he then takes a break to grind up 7 incredibly expensive headlights. No stranger to aesthetic machinery, Azuma throws together a decorative mineshaft for the rock shop customers to explore and enjoy. The one extra helpful bit is the minecart stacking storage system. With that, X can spend extra time insta-mining the depths without having to go back to the surface and just sending back minecarts full of goodies. To help his newly established partnership, Azuma builds a flower farm to produce dyes out of, which comes in real handy for all that white and grey concrete he's using in building his base.
And just like that, our second building has come towering into existence. This thing looks crazy.
But if anyone's got white concrete on the brain this week, it's Mumbo. After a ludicrous number of people turned up just to watch him smash sand and gravel together, a TNT-powered concrete converter could not be far behind. And sooner or later, he'll have to place it all in the 7 remaining towers of his base. He's already planning the next phase of building, which may or may not involve gathering even more sand for void fog levels of glass. But until then, he finds a few ways to procrastinate, like digging out a couple of shulker boxes out of Iskal's latest game at the shopping district, or starting a correspondence game of noughts and crosses with Grian.
Off the minecart goes to make an enormous racket in Grian's base. I really could do with one of those little alarm systems myself, but then again, I mean, I am quite enjoying just this, whatever this is.
Who, on the contrary, has no time to waste between the head game, the giant mansion build, and the first shop he opens. The store Grian starts with is more like a bargain bin of the area, with a trail mix of helpful materials and resources sold out of it. But because he starts out dead broke, Grian can only afford a tiny amount of space for it, and just builds a tiny 10x10 raft in a puddle, which he arguably shouldn't have to pay for at all, because in a puddle is not on an island. Seriously, why hasn't anyone just built a cargo ship right offshore? You don't have to pay for land if you're not on land. Naturally, seeing him as a competitor, Azuma instantly buys the whole place out, which only prompts Grian to expand and restock, which again makes Azuma buy him out even more. This cycle of ruthless charity would continue if Grian didn't have the mega base to take care of, though the progress on it is barely keeping up with his own ambition, and this time Grian announces that the mansion will actually go down nearly as much as it goes up. And that's on top of the massive amounts of bread he's been gathering for Operation Fire Lightning, his and Scar's plan to somehow still get a last jump on the head game leadership.
Operation Aqua Thunder! Is it Operation Fire Lightning?
Yes, you nailed it. I like it.
Or they can always kill more Rendogs.
Come on, you can sell that for a profit. I mean, I can, and a fish. The fish sealed the deal.
Surprisingly, Rendog doesn't explode after being loaded up with gunpowder and thrown onto a fire. Instead, it's other things that go boom. Ren's working on a TNT-powered tree farm, which will hopefully be able to cope with the demand for logs at Bigger Logs Inc.
Just like us so, and the last level of TNT is going to blow up at the very, very top of the tallest trees, like spruce and jungle, for example. Boom! Beautiful.
It doesn't help that he's airlifting oak logs to Iskal's base by the shulker box load, but at least a giant blimp with the word logs over the top of it is a good advertising strategy. So is a giant TNT block, cause nothing says you might want to come here like a bomb big enough to blow up the whole town. This is Ijevin's dynamite shop, where he sells TNT, which in real life is not dynamite, but then again it isn't made with gunpowder either. Minecraft is fun. It's a store perhaps inspired by digging out a large area under the ocean by hand, and unfortunately it does not help with the tedious task of engraving intricate patterns into the floor either. Luckily, it's all worth it for a time-lapse, so Jevin does complete his mosaic floorboards seemingly in one go. No idea how the diamond zombie fits into the ensemble, but he'll figure it out.
So we're gonna get him in here. There's a good chance I might die, but it's fine. Let's, got him in there. Oh, alright, we got him trapped, guys. That is insane.
Joe Hills is pretty much the opposite of a diamond zombie, continuing to resist the thrall of the blue shiny rocks by throwing them in lava, or in the case of the Diamond CO's Cleo, covering them in lava and giving away the coordinates. He even enriches the experience of collecting the diamonds by building and decorating the tunnel that connects each individual vein. And if that's not friendship, I don't know what is. Oh wait, friendship is this bit, where Cleo gives him back a diamond block of change, and Joe throws it straight into lava.
So, now just like the One Ring, which was also indestructible and would last forever, we need to go throw that in some lava.
Back at the winery, Cubfan drops by to kill him and they engage in some light small talk before Joe continues to plan out the room decorations to correspond with the layouts in his Dungeons & Dragons books. It's not the only book he needs though. With only iron tools, mending is an even more valuable enchantment. Luckily, Mumbo's Pass It On shop provides a loophole for Joe's diamond avoidant philosophy, and he swaps a mending book for a totem impulse dropped off as a gift. For once, it's not Etho throwing the diamonds into lava. He's got other things on his mind, like the new search engine Vintage Beef built on his doorstep. Or is that out of the side window? It's kind of hard to tell with Etho's base.
This is great. Every time I want to get an item out, I just gotta take a TNT to the face. It's a blast to use.
The monstrosity gets an enchanting setup this week with a piston-pushed wall indicating how many enchantable items he has in stock. And it'll be especially effective once you can wrangle those two cave spider spawners into dropping the critters from a great height. His design philosophy is evolving as fast as the base is, and he decides he has to add some structure into the chaos, so he adds a giant wall with some Minecraft mob pixel art with the aim of actually connecting it to the base later. The interior for the ice shop is much more organised, but across the street, a shop he cannot resist is finally being put together.
We made an amazing llama store here. It's like a Pez dispenser loaded up with llamas, and you gotta choose which one you want.
While the Redstoners are building, the builders must redstone, and Vintage Beef constructs a giant llama shop, storing the creatures for sale somewhere in the neck. He names it the Spitz, because it looks like the Sphinx, and because every other llama shop ever created was called Llama-Rama. Now, for 1 diamond block, you can have the privilege of watching a giant llama spit out a smaller llama.
Select your desired llama color and push button below. So you select the color, then you push the button.
With that done, he has a good excuse to move the llamas out of his house. Can't have them raiding the fridge and treading muck all over the tiles of his nice new kitchen. So he builds a llama sanctuary in a nearby hillside grotto and hopes the hay bales will keep them occupied for the time being. In a similar fashion, Good Times with Scar stumbles upon the redstone one particular builder did that contains all the doors ever stolen from him. Or it would, if a zombie didn't spawn inside and already broke most of them. This is hilarious, especially because Scar has by this point lost the Kaguma key, but now has this door vault at his disposal that uses the exact same key system. Now, while his partner in heads is gathering an overwhelming amount of bread for some mysterious reason, Scar is prepping his villager crowd for their future life in the jungle, which includes building more houses for them, as well as giving them ocelot heads. And being traders, they really do have wares if you have coin, so that checks out.
So that is all of the ocelot heads that I have at this point. And I know I don't have a head for you, good sir, and you have a beautiful belt buckle, and I appreciate that. Maybe a bird head, maybe a panda head. Oh, panda heads for these guys would be amazing.
Jungle life is suiting Iskal pretty well, although he's resorted to growing leaves organically instead of placing them himself. For a diversion, he sets up a new diamond earning venture. Cutting out the middleman of people having to play a game, his treasure island just sells shulker boxes of random loot to anyone who feels like paying him a diamond block, which makes yet another diamond pile in the shopping district. Remember when they used to lock these things away in vaults? Pretty soon he's doubled the diamond blocks he left there as an example, which means he can put down a down payment on that house he's always wanted. A giant tree. The goal is to build his main base in the branches, but those are going to take a while, so he starts an in-between base's base inside the trunk.
Now, don't get me wrong, when I say storage system, I'm talking about an IBBBSS. In between bases base storage system. These abbreviations are getting absolutely out of control.
The hollow roots of the structure soon become home to a new storage system, a valuables room with a special inner sanctum for the 12 bamboo Mumbo gave him that one time, and a bedroom with a walk-in equipment dispenser, in case you drop out of the sky without a totem of undying. And finally there's Stress Monster, who in another part of the jungle has put a floral headband on the skull she built last week, which doesn't make it any less of a giant skull, but at least it's wearing this season's must-have accessory. It also has a nether portal in the nose, which is great for getting rid of snot, but not great if you don't want baby zombie pigmen running around inside your brain.
Why am I on fire the first time I come over here? Stop hitting me! Die!
Stress decides to start a potion brewing business and is immediately set on fire by various blazes, but after clearing a decent amount of the area herself, she calls in some help from Iskall and rigs up a nether fortress blaze spawner for free and easy brewing supplies. Between that and the netherwort mushroom farms she prepares in another branch of her jungle base, the server had better look thirsty. And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is ZloyXP, and my name is Pixel. In case you missed Zloy and his friends experiencing pain in their Hermitcraft series, you can catch the highlights in the end screen theatre. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.